I'm here with David Ord from Nemesis Pest Control, and I've known David for quite a while. We've been in business groups and things like that together, had some lunches, and talked a lot about life and business and family and those kind of things. And you kill stuff, not necessarily like bad guys that are human, but you kill the stuff that's bad guys to our homes and the nice barbecue that we want to have and the gardens we'd like to have and those kind of things. You've been doing that a long time, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. I've been doing this for over just about 6 years. Absolutely love what I do.
You crawl all over the crawl spaces, the attics, that kind of stuff, trying to figure out where points of entry, or how does it work?
Correct. So interesting. You kind of got to get a background of where I came from. So I had no idea that I was going to do pest control. I was on a path to do nursing. I had been working in the medical field for well over 10 years. And then a buddy of mine approached me and, he said, "Hey, have you ever thought about pest control?" And I'm like, "No, not really." And he said, "Well, come do a ride along, check it out." So I did, and I fell in love with it. And I'm the type of guy that I'm a pretty small guy. I'm a 5'3", and I feel like I was kind of born to do this. I love getting in the crawl space. People are like, "What?"
You're right. Well, aside from size, I kind of know you as a scientific guy.
Right.
Like I've heard you speak a lot about different things, and very scientific with what you do. But that's kind of a calling for you too, isn't it?
Oh yeah, yeah. I've dedicated myself to knowing how to properly identify those pests, figure out what's going on, because that's so important. You want somebody that can come out and say, "Okay, what do we got going on here? Let's take a full assessment. Let's check your crawl space. Let's get in those areas that not many other people want to get into. Let's check that attic. Let's see what kind of bugs or insects or pests you have. Let's identify those and get you the proper treatment that you need."
I have had some pests around my house and used over-the-counter product and things like that, and sometimes not the best luck with that kind of stuff. But there are specific kinds of pests that are just nasty and a pain in the neck in Southern Oregon, the Rogue Valley proper for sure. I know one of them is rats and mice for sure, big time with the farming and agricultural community and all the waterways that we have coming in.
Oh yeah, so it's interesting that this area, and I think the weather has some to play with it as well. We don't get those harshest winters, and the biggest problem I see in the valley, without fail, is rats. I would say that 80 to probably 90% of the homes I go in or go under have had or are having a rat issue. Whereas mice, believe it or not, I find less of that problem
Okay.
here. And then another, I think a close second would be maybe ants. We have many varieties of ants here.
We have big rats here.
Oh yeah,
It seems to me. I don't know. I haven't seen a lot of rats, but the ones I've seen here, I was like, that was like, I'm a big man. I'm not afraid of the rat, but it was a little startling when I saw it because I didn't expect anything that big to be making that noise. And
Right.
With the rat thing, there's something about closing things off. You were telling me one time so that they can't get under there. But when you say 80 or 90% of the homes have had that problem, I don't doubt it because very seldom do I talk to a friend that hasn't had a problem with the darn things, and it's just nasty.
Correct. So when I come out, I'm looking at that structure. I want to walk the entire outside, and I want to say, okay, let's identify these points where they could be coming in. And rats leave indicators too. They've got an oil that naturally occurs on their fur. It's called sebum. And so they leave that, and you can technically, well, in most cases, you can find that path of where they're coming in.
Where they've rubbed their fur back and forth a lot and created some kind of path there, kind of like my dogs do walking back and forth on my lawn in the same strip.
Right, yeah. Correct. But it's very important to seal off any entry point on a structure, because if you don't do that before you start trapping the rats, because we trap only on the inside, you don't want to use baits,
right?
Because you're going to cause a bigger mess. Because if we do that, if we don't seal it off and we start trapping and they still have a way to get in and out, they're going to do it. Because you think about, okay, rats need a couple to three things every night. So they need food, they need water, and then obviously their nesting material. They can get that in a lot of places, and that's why they destroy your insulation or other things under the house, because they need all of that to survive. They're incontinent by nature, so they're always leaving their droppings and their urine as well all over the place. So if you don't seal it off, you're not going to get great results. And we want to actually end the rat issue, you know.
I know from a personal experience quite some time ago, and a friend telling me the same thing, that the baits are nasty because you're going to smell something rotting if they get in a wall, in an attic, maybe under a crawl space. It's pretty gross.
Yeah, and anybody who's had that experience, and I know there's a lot of people in the valley that have had this experience, it's not just for like a few days. We're talking about 3 weeks to a month.
Yeah.
And who wants that?
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Now, there is in some circumstances where we look at a structure and there's just no way to seal it off. There are homes like that.
And all the pictures and video that may make you a little cringy behind, I just wanted to let you guys know that David gave me those, and kind of gives you a picture of what he deals with in his job, and not only blocking off the house so the rats get in, but what you may find.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I love taking pictures. I love documenting what's going on. And I love doing video too. I've got my own little GoPro too that I use in certain circumstances.
That's kind of neat, because I think people don't know when they're calling pest elimination if they're getting what they're paying for, or there's lots of promises and things like that, but actually seeing it yourself and then knowing later that it's gone, there's the proof that people are looking for sure.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, and it's wonderful that every morning I wake up and I'm like, yeah, I get to do this. and this is and same with my my coworkers. We all have that mentality. We love to do this. We are a company that's going to want to earn your business, not just today, not tomorrow, but for years to come. And it's very important for us to provide that honest assessment every single time.
You're not there and gone, hard to contact later?
No, we're always available by phone. That's the other thing. I am available, sometimes in the evening, or in most cases.
Yeah, I work like that too. And people that love what they do, they're generally the best at what they do, from what I've seen throughout life, definitely.
Oh yeah.
Other things that have crossed my path, and probably a lot of people that listen to this podcast, ants, earwigs, the stuff that eats every piece of squash I planted one year. Lots of different things to keep an eye out for. I think they were called squash beetles. But whatever those are, there might be individual problems at individual houses, something that's bothering the homeowner, and you look into the source of that and what to do to keep it away from where they don't want it. Yeah.
Correct. So I'll clarify real quick too. So there's specific licensing that's required for specific pest control in specific areas, right? So we do structural pest control. So we do residential and commercial, but we do earwigs, silverfish, spiders, ants, wasps, mice, rats. We also do bed bugs, cockroaches, termites, and all those inspections that we provide are no cost. And we do it in a structural setting. So if there's anything outside of the structure, we can certainly take a look at it and say, okay, here's what you need to do, or here's who you need to contact. But our licensing is dedicated to protect
for the home and the business. And
Correct.
You do businesses as well, is that right?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah, and businesses may have food and product and things like that can be a huge loss if there's pest problems.
Right. Yeah, we've gone into some places like you think about seed farms, things like that are in some areas of the valley,
Yeah.
where there are big losses. Also, you think about like hemp farms,
Yeah.
marijuana establishments. We help with those too. So.
Yeah, definitely that living product or agricultural product. Throughout time, pests have loved that stuff, whatever it was, and they tear it up, and a business is out. Some of what they intended on making a living with for their family and their employees and those kind of things.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, David, what's can you tell us like a horror story or two?
Sure. I mean, I've got some
It's
video.
just interesting and bizarre to me. I don't often get to talk to a guy that seeks out bugs. Not an entomologist, but you study that hard in this, and you're out there to go get them.
Right. So a couple of different stories that really jump out to me. In the first is like a situation where you've got like a hoarding situation. So there are things that we can do in those environments, and obviously cleaning up an environment does benefit you. But we one time went into this. We got called out. Okay, we've got a big rat issue. And it is a situation where somebody has had a lot of stuff in their home building up over the years. And I said, okay, well, no big deal. We've seen this before. So I went out to this home, and I had not seen it before. So there was, I mean, floor to ceiling. I mean, literally, you got these little pathways. And so I took a look at it, and we agreed on how to help, and we got the program set up. And so I went out there with a couple of my technicians, and to set the picture right, you could not go into this home without wearing a respirator.
Wow.
It was that bad. And as we were setting the traps, and we set over 100 traps in that place for rats, and as we were setting the traps, we were catching rats. It was that
happening real time.
It was happening in real time. We would set them, we would go out of the room, and they would snap, and we would come back, and we'd have rats. Just out of control population.
You want to give people the heebie-jeebies, turn that into a video game.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and I do have some video of that. So.
Oh, nice.
And another one that we had was bed bugs. So bed bugs are always something that's particularly interesting to solve. You really have to be an investigator to figure out, okay, how did these start? Where did they come from? Which unit did they start in? You know, if you're dealing with multi-unit
like an apartment
housing.
complex or that kind of thing, multi-dwelling.
Right. Yeah, so I went into this place. This girl called. She said, hey, I've got bed bugs. My little baby's being bit. And we haven't been anywhere. We've been at home. We don't know where these have come from. So I went out and took a look at her situation, and I found a few bugs. And I said, okay, well, we need to inspect the units next year's. And so we inspected the units next to hers, and they both had bed bugs. And we said, okay, well, we need to go further. So then we contacted the property manager, and we're like, okay, we need to inspect all these units for bed bugs. And there were 16 units. And so as I was going through the units, I was finding a few bugs here, a few bugs there. Then I get to the last unit, and I knock on this guy's door, and he opens his door, and there's bed bugs crawling on the walls up above him. Oh. And I was like, okay, this is where they came from initially. And we lifted his mattress, and the whole base of his mattress was just covered in bed bugs. Oh. You know, so but the reason why he didn't know they were bed bugs is because there are, believe it or not, there's a percentage of the population that doesn't react to bed bug bites. So he had no idea. He was like, oh, there's bugs. They're not bugging me, you know, because he wasn't feeling the bites, but they were there. So, but we were able to resolve that situation too. So
what happens with that? You like fumigate the whole place and tell everybody to get out for a day, or what?
So there's different treatment processes that you can do. Some companies offer thermal remediation, where they heat each unit up to 120 to 140 degrees. And then it takes, techs going in and flipping things, and then we're using a liquid product at the same time. But if you're properly trained and you're doing liquid treatment only, but it does take follow-ups every 2 weeks, you can resolve a bed bug issue that way as well. It's all about the time that you invest into your employees, training, making sure that things are properly addressed. Yeah. And that's what we do. So,
excellent. Other horror stories that you'd like to talk about? I'm sure there's some that you just like, I can't talk about that one.
Oh, yeah. So
we have cops on here regularly, and there's some they can talk about and some they can't.
Talk about some stuff. So another thing I want to talk about is, and this is another reason why it's so important that we come out and we properly identify what's going on, because there are some situations we go into where people insist that they're having a pest issue, but it's really something else going on. And I won't get into the full details of that, but those are some of the situations where we get into where things are out of control. So we had one instance where I went out and did an inspection, and I walked into this home, and there was I noticed there was lime all around the hot water heater. And I asked this person, I said, well, what's going on here? What are you dealing with? Well, the bugs are coming out of the walls. They're coming out of everywhere. So I put the lime down to eliminate that problem. And she goes, well, I need to show you my crawl space. So I went down to her crawl space, and there was literally 6 inches of lime inside that crawl space.
She had it all delivered, or she just kept dumping it down there bag by bag?
She kept dumping it down there bag by bag, and she was actually suffering from the lime is what her problem was. Is she had been putting it in there without protective equipment and by hand.
Breathing the stuff, getting it on her skin, and it's pretty caustic.
Oh yeah. Yeah, so she was really having some real problems, but it wasn't a pest issue. But I am trained to properly identify, to figure out exactly what the problem is, what's going on, and can we help in another avenue besides the pest issue.
Suggesting the right people to talk to sometimes,
oh,
right?
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
Yeah, that's sweet that you guys help with those mental health type things.
Oh, yeah.
They may not. I have a feeling that those might be people that call pest elimination companies a lot and probably end up with there's nothing there, but nobody actually really helps them. So that's touching to hear for sure.
Right.
Good stuff.
Right. Yeah. As much as they want us to help them, we're going to help them.
Yeah.
Because that's so important.
Yeah, definitely. Where can they get a hold of you if people want to work on some of their pest problems, if they're finding them, or maybe keep them from happening? I just kind of prefer they not be at my house.
Right. So you can contact us, obviously off the internet, Nemesis Pest Control, and then also we have a website up and running, and you can type in pestnemesis.com, and that'll bring that up for you, and also by phone, and I'll give you the number to call.
So, like the name I love and the logo I love. It's pretty edgy, but the shield with the hourglass over what is that meant to be a specific kind of bug?
Right. So that's basically a wasp.
Yeah, I get those.
Is what we've got up there. Believe it or not, my 14-year-old son did the main design, and then we took it and we added the shield, and we added some coloring, and just added a few things. But my son loves art, and just did an awesome job.
That's what I've known you as, a good family man here in Southern Oregon, part of this community, and out there making a killing for it.
Yeah, right.
So, Nemesis Pet Control, talking to David Ord, and he is the bug's nemesis.
Thanks for tuning in to the Scanner Group Crowdsourced Crime and Safety Podcast with Ryan Mallory and Jared Banry from ThiefHunter Labs. Make sure to subscribe today for notifications about the next show. Visit us at www.thiefhunterlabs.com or on Facebook as Thief Hunter Labs in the search bar.